The kind of disputes you see in civil litigation, are they very petty?
That party just wanted the
An
counterparty
apology.
to say sorry.
What prompted you to take up such an active role in pro bono?
So I think it is discharging just your duty to society.
If your son were to ask you, I want to grow up and be a lawyer just like you, what would you say?
So my son is very talkative.
Oh.
Yeah, so he has
That's
hallmarks of a lawyer.
Welcome back to Dentons Rodyk On-Air. Today we have Terence with us, and on this podcast we will be speaking to lawyers to learn more about their personal and professional life. So maybe to start off, Terence, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi Rifu, I'm Terence Wah from Dentons. I'm a partner here at the Litigation and Dispute Resolution department, and I focus on real estate, trust and tax litigation.
So every time on this podcast, we would ask our lawyers to bring an item that is of a personal significance to them. And today, Terence has brought us...
I was thinking about this question really long, what to bring.
Yes.
Discussed it with my wife also. And then I think we both agreed maybe I bring a court robe here. Okay, what's the significance of this court robe? It was bought by my wife before my call. The call was in August that year, so we were traveling in the UK, and then during the call break, and we bought the robe with the view to use the court robe for the call, but I was offered the opportunity to use Philip's robe for the call.
Whoa.
So I actually didn't wear this robe for the call. I wore Philip's robe, yeah,
Wow.
because there's more significance in a way.
Yes.
But I've been using this robe for my trials and open court hearings. So yeah, there's some significance in the sense that whenever I wear this robe, I will be reminded of my call and of my wife and me when we were going through law school together. Yeah, so I've been with my wife for 10 years before we got married. So we went through law school together in a way. Yeah, so there's some significance there. Yeah. So that's the robe. Yeah.
So you met your wife during law school?
No, I met my wife way before law school.
Way before that.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys come a long way.
So I met her during my national service. Yeah, and then we got together then, and then when I started law school, I was already together with my wife. Yeah.
I see.
So in a way that she somewhat knew what to expect from the law. Studying is a bit difficult, so there are long hours and everything. So yeah, in a way it accumulated with the call. So therefore, this item has some significance in that sense.
Okay. Actually, just now you mentioned that for your call, you actually end up wearing Philip's robe. How did that happen?
Well, I have a good relationship with Tracy, which is Philip's secretary when she was here. And usually, when the trainees get called, they'll be borrowing robes from people who have robes in the firm. Yeah, and if there isn't, then they will usually use the common robes. Yeah. So then Tracy asked me whether I wanted to use Philip's robe. Yeah, and but because Philip is a senior counsel at that time, he doesn't need to use the usual robes. He has his own silk robes. So then Tracy asked me whether I wanted to use his, and then I said, yeah, why not? I mean, maybe it will give me some extra,
Confidence.
Confidence. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because based on what we know, usually when you get called, people either rent their robes or borrow from a senior lawyer. So I guess to have your own robe is quite a unique.
Yeah, in a way, that's also one of the reasons why I was considering buying the robe, because my wife in buying the robe appears to suggest longevity in the profession, right? Because if you have your own robes, then maybe it will stay longer. Yeah, maybe that's what she thought.
Well, you've stuck it out. So let's move on to talk a little bit more about, let's say, the beginning of your entire legal journey. You previously mentioned that you studied in NUS and you did an exchange overseas. So maybe you could share a little bit with us about how was the experience like doing an exchange overseas?
Well, exchange there was a story behind it as well. I was actually offered exchange at University of Queensland. Yeah. And the reason is because I wanted to go there to be with my friends who were studying at University of Queensland. But at that time, there was a flood that hit Queensland quite bad, and then it destroyed the facilities University of Queensland. So I told the school that I won't go for exchange. Yeah. Then I was then offered another opportunity to do the exchange in the UK at the University of Edinburgh. So when I found out about that, I was like, oh, where's Edinburgh?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody. It's not a popular destination in a way, right? And then I did some research and I found out that it's in Scotland. It's a very old law school there. There's a very good tradition, and that Scotland is both a civil and common law country. At that time, UK was still within the EU, so there was opportunity to study EU law as well. So the exchange was supposed to be 6 months at the University of Queensland, but then when I was offered the University of Edinburgh exchange, it was a 1-year exchange.
Wow.
So I was there for my entire 3rd year. And as for your question, what did I learn from the experience? I wanted to make the exchange meaningful, so I was studying as hard as I can there as well, and I structured my modules based on what I believe I would get the most out of it. So instead of taking like year 1 or year 2 modules, I was doing year 3 modules there.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was a year 3 already, right, by then. But I was in a way competing with the year 3s in the UK. I was aware of that, but I thought the content-wise, it would be more beneficial to me. So I took 3 modules, 1 litigation module, 1 corporate module, and 1 skill or jurisprudence module. The litigation module was conflict of laws. So obviously conflict of law for litigators is important because they are cross-border disputes. Second one was for the corporate module being competition law in the EU. So EU competition law is actually quite big other than US antitrust law. So it was good to actually know competition law. I was quite interested in competition law then. And then my jurisprudence mod was justice, ethics, and law. So I did this 3 when I was there. It was eye-opening in understanding how the laws in other areas work. Then what I got out of it outside of Singapore Law School is that the students there are more ready to volunteer their answers. So you studied overseas, right? So
Yes, I did.
I'm not sure whether you get the same experience as me. So Singapore students, they only raise their hands when they are fully familiar with the
answer.
materials and they know the answer confidently, right?
That's true.
But the UK students are more prepared to volunteer their answers as long as they have a view. They don't have to be fully familiar with the materials per se, but once they form a view and they are very strong in relation to that view, they will proffer their views. So I think that's the main difference that I feel when I was there versus I'm here.
I definitely agree on that because when I did my uni in the UK, I realized that during the tutorial sessions that we have, a lot of my classmates would, they were very confident to raise their hands and ask anything they wanted or just say something that was on their minds. So I thought that was quite, it's kind of like a no judgment space where you can just say what you want to say. And I think that's quite important also because if you're constantly afraid of wondering if what you're saying is correct, you might not get out your thoughts, right? And your professor might not give comments on that.
You don't get the chance to defend your views in a way, right? If you don't even want to articulate it in the first place. So I think that's the main difference.
So in actually picking your modules, I see you picked like liti, corporate, and something like legal philosophy. Was it very intentional to spread out the modules that you have chosen so that maybe to understand what your own interest is,
Yeah, I wanted to have a more balanced understanding of the law. So that was deliberate in the year because you start to choose modules in your year 3 and year 4 days, right? So in NUS year 1, year 2, they're all compulsory modules. Year 3, year 4, this was my time. Year 3, year 4, then is electives. So when I got a chance to choose electives, I wanted to do a mix of corporate and litigation modules. This carried through to my 4th year when I came back to NUS.
Right.
So in my 4th year, SEM 1, I did all litigation modules. And then year 4, SEM 2, I did all corporate modules.
So how did you know that you wanted to do litigation?
I don't think you really don't know, as in, so I think it was a starting point for me. I wanted to do something that had a breadth of wide range areas that you can do, and litigation afforded that. So that's how I ended up in doing litigation as a start. Yeah, yeah. And I was at Dentons as an internship. Really impressed by the litigation department, so therefore I was here.
Maybe in terms of litigation, your practice area specifically, and you do real estate, tax, and private wealth liti. We all know that litigation can be quite a demanding role, a demanding practice area. So was there a point in your years as a litigator that you felt that it was too much, or it was too stressful, or it was too demanding?
Well, thankfully the job is seasonal in a way, so I think there are ups and downs. The stressful part is the part where, in litigation there's a winner and a loser, right?
Yes.
In a way. So if you feel very strongly in relation to a particular viewpoint, and then the result doesn't end up the same way that you envision it to be, then I think that creates a bit of a stress in terms of why didn't you, take that approach in the first place, and how can you find another solution to the problem, notwithstanding the setback. Yeah. So I think dealing with the setbacks really is the more stressful part, rather than the demands of the job per se. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of litigation, right? So if you really want to fight all the way to court, then somehow the judge has to make a decision as to whether one party is more right than wrong, right? So when you are faced with that kind of outcome, the losing party will definitely be facing some form of a setback. Yeah. So I think that is the difficulty with litigation, and that's why people are encouraged to try and resolve their disputes without the need for the adjudication. Yeah.
Right.
So you have more control as to the outcome. Yeah. But for those people who are prepared to go to get a ruling, then they are generally also primed for the possibility of an adverse ruling. Yeah. So I think as long as you can understand that there's a possibility of an adverse ruling, then you would have prepared yourself in a way. But obviously not
fully
not
prepared.
fully,
You
yeah.
can never be fully prepared for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that leads me to my next question. Your experience in court, your experience going to court and litigating. We all know that there are two forms of litigation. There's criminal, and of course there's the civil side. So I would think you would deal more with the civil side of litigation. A lot of people might have this question, which is the kind of disputes you see in civil litigation. Are they very petty, or have you come across a certain instance that you feel like, oh my god, this is such a petty thing to dispute over?
I think from time to time there are, but I wouldn't say petty, but more of matter of principle.
Okay.
And those are probably the more difficult clients to handle, because they feel very strongly for that particular viewpoint, and they either want to vindicate themselves or get it decided, right? So if it's a principle thing, then unless the counterparty were to meet that principle or give in some way, that party will not yield, right? In a way, yeah. So that's the difficulty. I've seen one litigation, and this is very, very distinctive, litigating over a sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, that party just wanted the
An
counterparty
apology.
to say sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And was
Wow.
prepared to go to the depths of the ocean to get that apology. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that sorry came.
The ruling was in favor of your client.
No, it was at the mediation,
Ah, okay.
and the counterparty actually said the requested sorry.
I guess that's one interesting case that you've seen go to court over an apology. Yeah. Okay, then maybe let's move on. We've talked about your experience as a litigator. Now, how about your experience in the firm, right? So in the firm, you did work pretty closely, and you also learned from a few senior counsels during your time. How would you describe that experience? And also, what do you think sets senior counsels apart, if they do, from other lawyers?
Well, I think it was eye-opening in a sense, because I mean, senior counsels and the more senior lawyers, they are busy with their time, so they actually can understand or grasp the issue very quickly, right? So you can see the sharp intellect there, and then the conveying of the instructions to you or their views to you will be also very precise, right? So you are then expected to execute the instruction based on what they tell you. So it's more oral kind of conveyance of instruction rather than them demonstrating it to you. And you
Right.
must be able to be aligned on viewpoint, wavelength, everything must be same to be able to fully execute what they have in mind. Yeah, so I think that's something I'm still trying to learn from, but at least I have been able to cope so far. Yeah.
Because I would think that's quite a unique experience. And you mentioned about trying to cope and the kind of high level comments that is given. Would you say there was like a steep learning curve when you were working with these lawyers?
Yeah, I would say that there was. Yeah. So in so far as you have to try and match them as for their knowledge, their views, everything, right? So that requires quite a bit of getting up and familiarization. But once you have synced your viewpoints, right, then I think it makes it easier. But the getting up process is definitely a challenge, lah, in a way.
So as a junior lawyer, previously, how did you cope with that? Like, did you have to put in more hours, or did you have to ask more questions? What was the process like for you?
Yeah, so for sure you have to take more ownership of the matter because like you said, those will be higher level comments, right?
Yeah.
So you're expected to then be more familiar with the facts, more familiar with the law, and then you have to be the one really driving it and making sure that look the comments that have been given to you have been fully incorporated into the drafts and the eventual end product, because they will be the ones who be fronting and leading the matter. So you are the support, and you have to make sure that the support that you give actually matches what the lead requires.
Okay. As a junior partner, I'm sure you have a lot of associates and senior associates under you, trainees as well. From your point of view, what do you think about the perception that this new and coming batch of junior lawyers might be a bit more on the softer side, the Gen Z, the strawberry generation, because we often hear with this new generation of lawyers, we maybe like prioritize more on work-life balance, and with these expectations that come, some of the partners and lawyers might have the view that you can't take stress, being in law is very demanding. If you can't keep up with the stress, then maybe this is not for you. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that the younger lawyers are exposed to broader things, right? So there's obviously the internet, social media. So they know more of the outside world, and they have more options for themselves. So I don't think they are less hardworking, right? But I think because they have more options, they are more ready to want to pivot if they feel that this may not be for them, right? As compared to the older generation, where the older generation are more prepared to stick it out, right? At the initial years, and then maybe it'll get better along the way. The reason is because obviously maybe the older generations we didn't have much options, right? And we think that okay, since we are already in this field, we should stick it out and continue in the field. But the younger ones do have options, like yourself, right? You are an aspiring YouTuber. So if you don't you're not in the law, you can be in the media industry.
No, I mean that's true. Like, because we have more options,
Yeah.
now we have TikTok, we have social media, the rise of influencers. And, I guess you're right. People, junior lawyers don't have to stick to the profession. There are options out there, which maybe that's why we come in with higher expectations and so on and so forth. So, I mean, just a curious question: do you identify more as from this generation, or do you identify more as from the older generation?
I think maybe the older generation. Okay,
Okay.
because I am I've been in the one single firm, right, my whole career.
Okay.
So I would think that I am probably more of the older generation. Also, I tend to work better with people. So maybe that's a sign of age. Yeah.
Oh, since you say that you identify more as from the older generation, what do you think are some of the traits that you look out for in a junior lawyer that really stands out to you? You yourself as a partner, when you look at a trainee or look at a junior associate, what are some exceptional qualities you see that stand out to you?
I think if you ask me for a simple short answer, I think it's willingness to learn lah. Willingness to learn has many aspects, right? Obviously, time being an important aspect. So, in order to learn something, learn it well, right, you need to have an investment of time. So I think that's an aspect of willingness to learn. The second thing is you must be willing to do, right? So different things, not just a single type of work you want. You must be prepared to do multiple type of work, right? Not just to see whether you're good at it, but to make sure that you have learned it, and then next time when you're exposed to it again, you are familiar with it. So that's another aspect of willingness to learn. I think if you ask me, a defining feature would be that. Yeah. I've given a trainees in the past an analogy before. I call it the sailor analogy.
Okay.
So there are many captains of many ships, and they're all looking for good sailors. Yeah, but then the question as a trainee is, how do you become a good sailor? So you got to make sure that you know how to do the basics, right? The tying of the ropes, etc., etc., so as to be able to be chosen by the captain, right? Then once you're chosen and you're on the voyage, you want to make sure you learn everything about the voyage, right? How's the sea condition? How are the weather conditions? How do you navigate the ship? How do you dock properly? I think all these things you will only be able to get the chance to learn once you're on the voyage. So you want to make sure that you are known for competency, so as to allow the sailor the captain to even choose you as a sailor to begin with. Yeah, that was the analogy that I gave. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good analogy, the captain and, being a sailor on the ship. Like you mentioned, in a law firm, there's really so much to learn, right, as a junior lawyer. And maybe at the beginning stage, don't be lazy, be very diligent in picking up, even the very, very basic things, checking documents, proofreading, simple stuff like that. And then, like you said, work your way up, and learn more along the way. Okay, I think that's a very useful and helpful piece of advice to our viewers if there's any prospective lawyers out there. So now maybe let's move outside of law. We've talked about your experience in law. Outside of law, could you tell us what is a personal achievement that you're most proud of?
Being a father, yeah.
I think that's very refreshing to hear that. And you yourself, you have a son that is, how toddler?
2.5, yeah.
2.5 years old. So, you've recently become like a father figure. And, maybe we can move on to the topic of parenthood, right? So a lot of, female lawyers, females get asked the question about, how do you balance life and family? So maybe this is my chance to throw the question back to you, because as a father, how do you balance work as a lawyer and your role as a father?
You just have to make sure that you can fulfill both duties as far as possible, in a way, yeah. So you need help, right? It takes a village to raise a kid. So your wife has to help, your family has to help, and you yourself must put in the effort. I think that's the from the family side. Then from the work side, obviously, your associates, your other partners, your boss must be must also join you in the journey in helping you, as far as possible, and be understanding. And then it's good to also learn, right, from the industry that there are guidelines recently as to better work-life balance vis-a-vis opposing counsel, right? So they should give you the courtesy, if you are on vacation or you have certain family matters to attend to try to be accommodating as far as possible and not be difficult. So I think it's industry-wide and involves your own family as well, kind of thing, to find the real balance. Yeah.
So it looks like, from the industry point of view, the professional rules have tried to, accommodate and to incorporate this to help families, parents strike a better balance. And also you talked about having the support system from your family, but also your colleagues. So how would you say maybe your firm or your team has supported you ever since you became like a parent?
Yeah, so I think the team and the firm has been understanding, right? So when my son was born, I took some time off to help my wife during her confinement period. So I think that's important. Then I try to structure my work in a way where I can also try and pick up my son as far as possible from school, and then after I'm done settling him, I can continue working. So I think that understanding, that a little bit of flexibility, it comes a long way lah.
So as a father, if your son were to ask you, okay, I want to grow up and be a lawyer just like you, what would you say? Would you encourage him, or would you say, no, please don't do this?
So I'll find out why he wants to do that lah, right?
Okay.
So if he just wants to emulate somebody, then he has to understand, the pros and cons of the profession.
Yep.
But if he understands all those things and he still wants to do it, right? I'll be very supportive lah, in a way. Yeah. So my son is very talkative.
Oh.
Yeah. So he has hallmarks of a lawyer.
He has opinions.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, maybe he will follow in your footsteps
We
someday.
don't know. Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, I have seen on LinkedIn and the discussions among parents who are lawyers as well, and this topic has been quite it has drawn a lot of attention, because we do see some lawyers who say, you know what, I'm a lawyer and I'm doing well, but I wouldn't recommend my kids to join this field. And this could be, let's say, due to reasons that are like inherent in like the system that we have now, that they might not be happy or not very satisfied with. For you, do you think that there are any parts of, let's say, the legal system that we have, or the firm culture, the working culture that we have in law, that would push you to say, maybe consider something else?
I wouldn't discourage, in a way. Yeah, I don't think there is any significant push factor away from the profession, in a way. Yeah, if my son will want to be a lawyer, like I said, there are pros and cons, and it's good for him to understand what it takes and what requirements, what kind of things he may have to be aware of, his duties, that kind of thing. If he's aware of those and he wants still to do it, I think I would encourage him to do it. Yeah, it is a profession, right? So being a member of the profession actually is a privilege in a way. So I think if he really wants to do it, I would encourage him to.
So you mentioned that being a member of this profession is a privilege. Maybe we can unpack that. What kind of privileges come with this profession, and what maybe makes you proud of being a lawyer?
I mean, when I say privilege, I mean it is an honor, right, for lawyers to be lawyers. Obviously, it's a long journey. You have to go through law school, you have to go through practice training, then you have to be called. Then after you're called, you have to make sure that you comply with the ethical rules. You treat everyone with respect and courtesy. The court, opposing counsel, your client, your colleagues. You have to make sure that everyone finds you to be worthy, right? So I think that's where I'm coming from in relation to privilege. When you and the reason why it's a privilege is because people look to you for advice, right? They feel that your view is important. Otherwise, why would they come to you, right? You are, in a way, for a litigator, a problem solver. So they feel that you bring some value to them. Yeah. So that's why it's a privilege, because your views stand for something, right? And they are going to be transparent to you in sharing their problems with you, in order for you to provide the best solution to them, right? So you have to respect that, and you have to make sure that you are mindful that this is a real life issue. You're mindful that, look, you are in a position of influence, right? And you have to make sure that you use that influence wisely. Yeah, so I would say that's why it's a member of a profession, an honorable profession, and yeah, it's going to be that way for time immemorial.
Mm.
Yeah.
You described how clients would come to us lawyers for advice, and they would confide, tell us the whole story and try to seek help in that way. So I would imagine that might place a lot of stress on lawyers. Of course, it's great that we are the pillar of support for them, especially in times of crisis or difficulties. But I'm also quite certain, perhaps, that would put a lot of pressure on lawyers as well. Do you ever feel, that pressure on you, to either win a case or to advise your clients really well, or, what if this goes wrong?
Yeah, so like I said, the setback thing was was one of the difficulties of the profession, right? Trying to deal with the setback, because you have taken a view, and then it may be that your view was misconceived, not really correct, that kind of thing. So you make sure that you take that learning point and then improve yourself in the future. But whether there's stress, I was once told by a more senior lawyer that being a lawyer involved clients paying you money to transfer their problems to you in a way. Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't have to worry so much of their problem. The worry becomes on you. Yeah. I think there's some truth to that, but it's more of a collaboration relationship, right? So you are offering counsel along the way. The problem remains with the client, but you are trying to make sure that the problem can be resolved in the best way possible. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would imagine there is a transfer of responsibility. Yeah. And that responsibility comes with price, right? So obviously you make sure that you can find the best solution for them. Yeah, right? Great power comes great responsibility.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the other important, area of your life, which is pro bono and volunteer work. So not a lot of people might know this, but Terence, you're quite involved in the pro bono in our firm, and you're actually very actively involved as the organizing committee for some of our pro bono initiatives. Like recently, I see that we've been involved in legal clinics and things like that. So, what prompted you to take up such an active role in pro bono?
A few reasons. First reason is that lawyering has an aspect of community in a way, right? Like I said, it's a privileged profession, so you owe responsibilities also to the broader community. So you, with that responsibility that you've been entrusted on, I think we should try and use it to help the community in some way, right? Yeah, and I think that comes from the pro bono efforts, yeah, as a whole from the industry, yeah. So I think it is discharging just your duty to society. That's one thing that I've always had in mind from the very start, right? The other thing is the goodwill that I've received when I was a student in the past. Yeah, so when I was a student in law school, there was a professor that had used the professor's own time to make sure that I am better at that particular module, right? So there was no need for the professor to do that, right?
Yep.
And it's all in a way pro bono, yeah. And I
It is.
benefited greatly from that, right? So I feel that I need to pay it forward in some way, and that's why I try and make sure that I at least devote some of my time to, mentoring, to volunteering. I think that's the other reason, in a way.
I think that's a really great mindset to have, and we wish that more of our lawyers in our firm and our industry will carry on that. As the committee member of organizing these pro bono activities and events, do you have a direction, a goal that is guiding you when you choose what kind of pro bono activities or what kind of pro bono you would engage in?
Yeah, so our firm, we have a pro bono policy as to decide which organizations to take on, etc. So traditionally, we've always been involved in two main aspects. The first one is legal clinic. The other one is class, right? So more recently, I've been trying to take on ad hoc assignments, pro bono assignments, to encourage a different breed of lawyers to do it. So legal clinic and class are usually disputes-based lawyers
Yeah.
are willing to do it because you are more familiar with the areas of law that are being asked in the legal clinic. You're more familiar with the legal issues that is faced in a crim context in the class matter, right? Yeah. So the corporate lawyers are a bit more hesitant to take on pro bono work because the nature of the work is not really commensurate with what they are experienced in or familiar with. So these ad hoc appointments that I'm referring to actually allows the corporate lawyers to be involved. Yeah. So I think that's an additional aspect that we are trying to look at to see how we can get our non-litigation, non-disputes-based lawyers involved in the pro bono work. Yeah. Recently, I've also taken on the CSR responsibility because so as to get the staff to be involved in community work. Yeah. So it's not just the lawyers, but the lawyers and the staff. Yeah.
Right. I think that's very inclusive. You're expanding kind of like the scope of who can be involved in pro bono. It doesn't just have to be lawyers. It doesn't just have to be litigation lawyers. It could be corporate, it could be staff as well. So I think that's a great way to like harness the manpower that we have to give back more to society. As a litigation lawyer, you must be quite busy by that itself already. How do you find time then to commit to your pro bono commitments?
Well, I mean, thankfully there are remote remote
With
meetings
the
now, right?
yeah,
So you don't
remote
have to be you can be at a single place doing multiple things in a way, right? And you don't have to be traveling, wasting your time traveling. I think that really helps, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have a group of people who are like-minded and they want to do the same thing, right? So you need a team, yeah. And it's good that our firm, Dentons Rodyk, actually have people who want to do such things, right? They want to do pro bono, they want to do CSR. So there's a team of people who are prepared to carry the weight. So it's not just on me; it's everybody else in the firm that wants to do this. So I think it's that that can help me manage the time better. It's not so much as to me doing single-handedly everything. Yeah, it's actually not me. I'm just providing some direction so that people can take on work. So the work's not done literally by me, right? So like the ad hoc corporate assignments, I try and source all the work, and then I'll say, look, this is probably suitable for you, right? Do you want to consider helping in this? Yeah. Then they will be doing the work, and then if they need me to come in time to time, then I can provide my views, but I don't have to be the one actually doing the true work. But at the end of the day, the firm does the pro bono work. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the corporate pro bono matters? Because I think that's quite interesting. Because we usually hear about, let's say, criminal pro bono, class like defending, let's say, people who might have been charged with a certain crime. But how does corporate pro bono work?
Well, there are many charities out there that require legal advice on non-contentious matter, right? So it could be the setting up of a company limited by guarantee. They may need advice on that. They may be facing a regulatory issue, right, pertaining to a particular area of law that they are involved in, right? So then they need advice on the regulations as to whether they are in breach, not in breach. How do they try and address this? Yeah, so those are areas where our corporate lawyers are actually very well versed in, and they can provide their views and assistance on. So I think that kind of thing is something that corporate lawyers can actually take a look at. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's a great way to push forward like pro bono, because you're matching the skills of a lawyer to kind of like the demand of let's say pro bono recipients out there. So I had this conversation with a lawyer previously, and I thought it was quite interesting. I want to get your thoughts on it. He's a corporate lawyer, and the thought was this: a lot of the pro bono work that we have now is mostly litigation focused, as you mentioned, or criminal law focused, right? So as a corporate lawyer, like let's say for example me, I'm doing tax and private wealth, which is a very niche part of corporate law. I don't think my skills are that applicable to these pro bono cases. Then there is this idea that, if I am not able to contribute my skills in a very practical and relevant way, maybe I can just contribute money. Maybe I'll just do it through donations. What are your thoughts on this?
I think financial assistance is important, surely, because that's the fundraising is the way to sustain charities, right? Without the funds, then they can't do the good work that they do. But I think financial assistance shouldn't be the only aspect of pro bono work that you do. You should also contribute in terms of your skill set, because like I said, right, if you are trained in a particular area of skill, right, you are the only one that's trained. And the charity or whichever organization that requires that level of support, right, you are the only one that can provide, right? So as for your area, as being in the tax background, etc., we have tax colleagues who have done pro bono, giving advice on GST registration to charities, and there is a demand for it. So it's not so much as to it's not your competency, more of you haven't seen the platform. So we need to provide the platform for you to make sure that you are aware of it, and that if you do have the time, nurture the mindset that pro bono is important, provide the platform. If you have the time, adopt that particular project, and then that's when you can start your pro bono journey in a way. Yeah. So I think it's the systemic thing. You have to make sure that there is availability, and then you must make sure that you want to do it, and then you make sure you have time to do it. Then everything matches. Then it will happen. Yeah. And it has happened.
And I think this system that you talk about will, definitely be very beneficial to pro bono work in general. So now that we've talked quite at length about, the systemic part of pro bono, the organizing, maybe let's talk about your personal experience with pro bono, the cases that you've taken on personally. Was there a particular, case that stuck to you or left impression on you?
The one that comes to mind was at external legal clinic. So it's not the usual ones that we do. It's the ones
organized by LawSoc?
Organized by community clubs. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually they have ad hoc legal clinics. That
Okay.
is not organized by law society. It could be organized by members of the CC, etc. Right. So I was at one of these legal clinic, and I was talking to one of the participants. And usually legal clinics are very short, so it's like 20 minutes consultation. You understand the problem, try and provide a view. Hopefully that view can, and some direction as to where they can go and seek further help, right? But you won't be able to fully help them from there, right? After the legal clinic ended, that particular participant was very insistent on continuing with me as an engagement. Yeah,
Right.
but there are certain rules in pro bono that you cannot take on. You are not supposed to source work from pro bono, obviously, because again, you are in a position of influence, right? You shouldn't be revealing too much about yourself and then trying to get work from such avenues. Yeah, but the particular person was very insistent, going to the extent that they went to try and find out my full name, my firm, etc., so as to try and instruct me. Yeah, but I tried to tell the person that, look, I can't, right? But I can provide you with which other law firms are well known in this area. So maybe you can consider them, right? But I can't be the one acting for you because there is already a relationship that we have through the legal clinic. Yeah. So I think that's the one that stick out, because that fellow was quite insistent. Even when I was leaving the legal clinic, they wanted me to help more. Yeah, but and it's from the conversation, right? Because when you speak to somebody on the one-to-one basis, you build some form of rapport, you build some form of relationship. Then when they feel that, hey, you are somebody that can represent me to the best of my interest, right? Then they will want you to be the lawyer, right?
I believe it's part of the professional conduct rules that we have. I think there are some ethics rules that concern, if you take up this role as in the position of a pro bono lawyer, then in the future you actually can't take on this recipient as a client, because maybe there's conflict of interest or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a good, like, your experience was probably good and bad in the sense that this person was so like trusting of you that he wanted to,
Yeah.
engage you further. But it's just, the rules that we have,
Yeah.
that can't happen.
Yeah. I mean, the rules are there for reasons, for sure.
Okay. So now we've talked about your volunteer work, in the legal sphere. Now let's maybe move on to the volunteer work that you do in your personal sphere. Could you tell us more about your experience volunteering for the community?
Okay. I do a bit of grassroots work. So and a bit of charity work. So grassroots work, I am currently the chairman of the Namli Neighbourhood Committee. What we do is we try and bring our residents together, right? And if the government has any message, we try and convey the message to the government, or the government's message to the residents. And then if the residents has any issues, right, or feedback in relation to any policy or in relation to any municipal issues, we can try and help convey that to the government as well. So right, it's a relationship, right? I stay in an area where you don't really know your neighbors, right? So that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that I get to know my neighbors and my neighbors get to know one another, right? So it coincides with that, with bringing residents together. Yeah. So I do grassroots work for that reason, right? And then I also do a bit of charity work. So I'm currently on 2 charities, and then on the committee of the charities, just to try and be involved in the space, and then if they need any form of expertise, I can offer some of my views. I mean, I'm not like a very senior lawyer, right? But at least I have some legal understanding. So if they do have any legal problems, then at least I can help them through it. Yeah. So I am on two charities as well. So those are my personal capacity volunteering in a way. Yeah.
Your role in charities might be quite linked to your profession as a lawyer, right? So maybe you do tap in on your skills as a lawyer. Whereas a little bit different from that, your involvement in grassroots is really more like individual and like community based. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, how often are you involved in these grassroots works? Is it like a weekly thing, monthly thing? Because I'm sure a lot of our audience will be interested to know, like, how much can you be involved in such volunteer work, given that, you do have your pro bono, you have your full-time job, and, you're a parent as well.
From the grassroots perspective, the grassroots organization normally have a monthly meeting, right? So thankfully, being the chairman, I can decide the format of the meeting,
Okay.
which I do by virtual.
Online.
Virtual, yeah, not all online, but I will mostly, as far as possible, have a virtual meeting. And the reason is because the members will be convenienced by it as well, right? You don't have to travel down for the meeting. Yeah. So as for meetings, it is done regularly, at least once a month, but it is not a serious toll on anybody's calendar. There are activities, and we make sure we have at least 2 or 3 activities per year. This is to connect residents, like I said, right? So usually we have some form of bonding activity, but at the same time, the grassroots could help out with the house visits. Yeah, so that are ad hoc kind of volunteering opportunities. So if you want to do house visits, right, and really understand the problems of the residents, you can help out. And there are other kinds of opportunities also, whether it's helping with an event at the CC, like EduSave, scholarship, you can help with the volunteering those. So if you have time, then you can. So if I have time, I will. But I won't do that all the time, right? So because I have other commitments. Yeah, but there are platforms to do that, and my members who have more time, they will want to do that. Yeah.
Okay, I think from what we've heard, you really do lead a very like well-rounded, all-rounded kind of life. We've heard about your volunteer work, your career, your family life, and now maybe just to to conclude our interview series, we would just like to get your final thoughts on this. So we have a lot of young students and lawyers watching our podcast. I'm sure they would love to know what is one piece of advice you would give your younger trainee self what would you say to him?
Younger trainee self.
Yes.
So not law student, but trainee self.
Let's be specific. Yeah, let's put it as trainee self.
Right. I would say embrace the opportunities that you are given. Yeah. There are many reasons why you may not embrace it. It could be that you're not confident. It could be that you feel somebody else is better placed to do it in a way. Yeah. But the fact if an opportunity is presented to you suggests that the person who presents the opportunity to you has some confidence in you. Yeah. So don't devalue yourself by saying, look, I'm not good enough, you know. Try and embrace it. Make sure that you can fulfill your own potential. I think that's something that I would say to everybody lah, in a way, if I may. I think embrace the opportunities that's been presented. Yeah, and there will be many along the way.
It sounds like what you're saying also ties into the idea of imposter syndrome. You know, a lot of people come into the industry and they face that, you know, imposter syndrome, like I'm not good enough, or you know, there's always someone better than me, things like that, and that might beat you down in the process. But what you're saying is, you know, don't let that stop you. Take up those opportunities, right? You mentioned that if these opportunities were presented to you, you should take them. But what if these opportunities are not presented to you? It's, you know, you have to raise your hand and, you know, take the initiative to take up them.
And do that, yeah. And raise your hand if you feel that you are the right person for that opportunity. Then say you are, right? That's something that we learned when we were overseas, right? Coming back to the same point, right? So the overseas students are willing to put their hand up. And why should we not be doing the same thing? So if we think that we are confident enough, then I think if we think that we're the right person, we should raise our hands and say, let me do it. Yeah.
Okay, so one more final question for you. I'm sure you have heard a lot of advice along the way could be from senior lawyers, could be from family and friends, you know, advice that they could have given you about being a lawyer. What advice would you say is completely nonsense? So debunking a myth about the legal industry.
I'm not sure whether that's a career advice. Maybe the way, and I've used it just now, in fact, it gets better along the way. I think that's just something we hear, right? In a way, yeah.
Yes.
It gets better along the way. I think that's not necessarily complete nonsense, but it is a different dimension. Yeah. So things might get better in one aspect, but it might become worse in another aspect, right? So you take on more responsibility, you have different forms of stresses. It may not be long hours, right? It may not be you are in office until 4, 5 a.m., that kind of thing. It may be better because you have more control, people are working for you. But you have different responsibility. You'll be fronting the client, you'll be making sure that things go well, you know, there's no screw up. So that responsibility is a different form of stress. So although one aspect might get better, other aspects might change. So just be mindful that, you know, if you're in for the long run, it's going to be a journey, it's going to be an up and down. So stay tuned and be ready for the ride, right? I think that's all.
Okay, I think that's great. So with that, we have come to the end of our podcast. So thanks for watching. Here we have Terence. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.